Welcome to Pigeon River Farm, doing farming right. I'm Robert Brown, the owner of Pigeon River Farm. Thank you for viewing. Good evening. In tonight's episode, we're going to talk about grass-fed beef versus corn-fed or grain-fed beef. In my experience, for a lot of years of farming, I have actually lived on both sides of this, so I guess I can speak from a level of experience here. In my early years on the farm, we did confined beef, so I'm very familiar with chopping corn. I'm very familiar with grinding up shell corn as an animal feed. Very familiar with animals being put into a confined environment and all the negatives that go with it. One of the things that I never liked the most when we had cattle in the confinement operation was the quantity of manure. The animals were standing in the manure and you were spreading it on the fields, and the animals were prone to disease. We fought a lot of disease back in the day when we were doing confined beef operations. Now that we've gone to strictly grass-fed, 100% certified grass-fed, cattle get no grain at all, our health problems just simply disappeared. We found that the cattle, both out in the environment, eating the green grass, working on the intensity of our pasture or our rotation of our cattle is absolutely critical. So again, when a consumer is thinking about buying beef and where did it come from, there's a multitude of areas that it actually comes from, and it's something now, maybe if you're not on the inside understanding how it works, but the primary source for ground beef, your real cheap, inexpensive ground beef, is typically going to be cull cows. That's going to be cows that were used for milking and have run their course. They're no longer viable as a milking cow. It's kind of a shame because these cows often are not very old at all. With the new CAFOs, the confined operations, they're cycling these cows through, and they're a very young age when they're actually just simply being slaughtered and put out for ground beef, the cheapest ground beef that's out there. The next area, of course, is going to be a higher grade of ground beef, and that's going to be from a beef animal or a dairy steer. So that would be like a Holstein or a Jersey that is actually the steer, and that's going to be on a feedlot, and that's going to be put out, and it's your cheap burger. And then your more expensive one is, of course, going to be like an Angus, Hereford or such, and that's raised as a beef animal. And then the lesser of that meat, the non-steak cuts, the non-roast cuts, are going to be turned into ground beef. Well, there's kind of the history of what goes on there, and in the world of grass-fed, we're kind of a specialty market because of what we have to go through to raise them. It's a much more, I'd call more science-based, if maybe some people definitely disagree with me on that, because we're not trying to figure out how to cure all the sicknesses and trying to get the rations just right. And that's a real science. I'll have to give them a lot of credit for that. But additionally, there is no solution when you put garbage in other words, you put toxified feed into the animal. The output of that is going to be the ground beef and the food that you're consuming. So the integrity is going to be the issue. So what was the field sprayed with? What kind of fertilizer were used? Them are all going to be factors. What is the condition? How many pharmaceuticals did the animal get exposed to in its life cycle? And probably the most hideous of all with the confinement that I have found is the use of hormone injections. It's something that is tightly regulated in the United States, and that is where they give it an estrogen treatment. That would be a steer given an estrogen treatment to put weight on the animal. And they can give, I believe the number, I went through the certification, I should remember it, but I believe it's five treatments in its life cycle. The big issue is imported meat. Most people don't realize the significant amount of meat that we actually import, or meat that we consume, is imported. And in a lot of these countries, regulations aren't followed. And how we know some of that, some of the research that I've done on that is found out that a lot of this beef that's coming in under from confinement operations overseas, they buy more growth hormones than they would need to give each animal that they produce 5 treatments. I've heard numbers of 10 to 15, so I mean they're just overdoing it. Well, that hormone is coming in. That's another thing that's going to come in through the beef. Where in the grass-fed, and specifically certified grass-fed and organic, you're really getting into the high-end market. You're getting into something that's guaranteed quality. You're not going to have the toxins in there at all. Most grass-based farmers, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work if you're going to be using a lot of toxic chemicals. Now there is, when they're not organic, and it depends on their farming methods, you can get some use of chemicals that are used in the pasturing environment, mainly for weed control and so on. But the exposure is little. In our case, the way we farm here, we don't use any chemicals at all. I'm I guess required. All our weed management is either done because of the breeds of cattle we have. We have Scottish Highland predominantly, and they're much more of a browser, so they do a good job of cleaning up a lot of the weeds. We also have the goats. We have meat goats, and what the cattle don't eat, the goats typically do. And if everything else fails, then a good old-fashioned me got to get out with a weed whacker or side cutters, and we clean up the weeds along the fence. So again, from the top here, not all meat is created equal. So be careful. Good price can be a negative. And if you think about long-term health, beef is critical to our diet. I know there are some vegans. I respect their position very much. But we got to remember what brain development took place, where you get in critical elements into your body. So many nutrients that come in. One of the best vehicles to bring it into your body is going to be through a high-quality beef. It can be viewed as a medicine. I had a doctor tell me once that if I could give every one of my patients 2 to 4 ounces, now it's a small amount, 2 to 4 ounces of pastured beef, of your beef with the kind of vegetation you have on your farm, most of my problems would simply take care of themselves. They would go away. People would be inherently healthier. So that's something to really consider when you're making a purchase of beef, is go out there and look. And so confined beef could be good, and I'm not saying that all of it's bad, because it's possible to do it, but it's very complicated to do it right. When you go to a pastured environment, you're getting the animal back to a natural setting. And then if it's like, we're animal welfare approved, so that animal had an incredibly good life. Literally right up to the point it was processed. Literally to the point it's processed. It was as stress-free as you can make it, as healthy as possible. And that's all a factor, because that animal, if it's was confined, it's under stress its whole life, there's a lot of hormones that get released into the meat that are harmful for us. So we got a whole plethora of problems that come in place, where in a case of grass-fed, you just don't have that issue. So I advise you, if you're looking to buy a good protein like beef, make sure you do your research and find out and buy it local. If you can buy from your local farmer, or if you got a connection where you can buy through a source that they know it's sourced locally and it's real high grade, I would advise you to do it, because you spend a little extra money, you're going to get a much higher value. Well, I thank you very much, and have a most wonderful evening.